Welcome to Conversations with Jen and Mel. This show is about real life with real people, having real conversations, from better health to mental health and more. Let's check out the conversation right now with your host, Jen and Mel.
Mel, today we're talking about a house divided. And there's so many reasons today why a house begins to break down. So help 911, my house is on fire. What's wrong? What do I do? What happened? Where do I start? And how do I help it heal? And so a house divided, what does that look like? Sometimes it looks like conflict and strife and anger and infidelity and jealousy and even showing up in our child rearing. And so today's conversation will address some of those topics. And today we'll first start off with what would be a topic that you would think of first today? What do you feel like is a huge topic as it relates to relationships and the breakdown?
I think the breakdown happens when people stop communicating.
That's huge. Communication is huge.
If you can't talk about what the issues are, if you're trying to deny the issues, ignore the issues, stuff down the issues.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we're talking and the other person isn't listening.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about communication now being an issue.
Yes.
As it relates to marriages. And communication and dialogue is huge. Conversation is huge. And sometimes, like you said, like we're talking at someone instead of actually engaged in a conversation.
Right.
You know, and we're talking to be heard versus us talking and trying to come to a resolution.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to be right.
Yep. You know, being right is important.
It is, but sometimes you can be right and wrong at the same time.
You can have the right point at the wrong time with the wrong attitude, with the wrong disposition. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Timing is everything.
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything, you know. And I feel like communication it starts with honor, respect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I listen to so many couples where the dialogue is all messed up. I mean, literally dysfunction has become their norm. Mm-hmm. Their average conversation is just over the top. The disrespect that they have for one another, the things that they allow themselves to say to one another in the name of love. And so now I'm listening and oh my gosh, don't let a couple call me and everything is on fire and they're having conversations, or we're in the middle of a session and it erupts and they begin to have words. I'm like, wait a minute. Are we here for a session or a brawl?
A brawl.
A brawl. I'm like, this sounds violent. Do I need to call the police?
Right.
But that's their norm. And so if you don't bring it to someone's attention that you're operating from a place that's unhealthy and dysfunctional, then you wonder where the breakdown was. And it's like, okay, we can't talk.
But how do people get from the fairy tale and the normal conversations? Because I think most cases, you start out, you like them. You're friends with them. You have intimacy with them. So they're talking sweet to you.
Oh,
most of the time.
Yeah.
But at some point, where does that derail, I should say, and turn into yelling, disrespect, dishonor, not liking one another?
So now we talk about communication, but I think we just really just turned the page. Did I really like you or did I like your representative?
Oh, uh-oh.
Did I really know you Did I ever have a chance to meet you? And so, as Christians, it's so funny because now we're talking about the Word of God, and we're talking about God with all these rules and regulations, all these do's and don'ts. So maybe God is saying, okay, don't fornicate, because not just simply, or don't commit adultery, not just simply because He doesn't want us having sex.
Right. I do think in the church, a lot of times we marry the representative, or a lot of people have married the representative.
In the world,
They did not
everywhere.
take that dating period. It's for you to get to know the person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wait a minute.
But if they're only showing you that side that they want you to see,
Mm-hmm.
not the real person,
Oh.
not expressing their real likes and preferences. And sometimes some people don't know what those are because they married young, because they was trying not to burn.
Oh, better to marry than to burn.
So they just got married.
Okay.
And then as they try to discover themselves, it's like, wait a minute. I'm not into that. or you're not the person that I thought you were.
So you just said a lot.
Probably.
Like, you just said a whole lot, because first of all, it's not just the church, it's just people in general. We create these soul ties that even after a person, so we create something, a spiritual bond between us and another person. Now we've engaged and we had this intimacy, this closeness, and even intercourse with this person. So now we got a connection beyond that, that's natural, when really we don't even like that natural person. So now we keep thrusting them out and opening the door. And so now we have this revolving door. Well, part of us rationalizes and says, you know what? I don't want them around. But the moment they come knocking on that door, we open that door, and it can go on. It's a whole vicious cycle. It can happen for years.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's just so many people desire to be married. And so people start allowing and accepting and tolerating behaviors, and they do everything in order to assume the blame. And so, yes, okay, well, he's communicating to me in a way that's dysfunctional. She's communicating in a way that's demeaning. So what do? I'm going to take it upon myself to change. Okay, what's that look about?
Nothing.
I'm going to take it upon myself to do something different. And so you'll find that one of the partners begins to assume the responsibility for everything that's breaking down in the relationship. So they're constantly trying to accommodate. So they change their demeanor. Now they're walking on eggshells, and they're doing all these things to try to put their relationship in a healthy place, and it's still failing because it didn't require the effort of one.
Right.
It required the effort of both. But one thing that I do tell men in a relationship, or I do tell the one that's the stronger one spiritually, that somebody's got to assume the responsibility for the relationship. When you see the communication begin to break down, somebody's going to have to learn to shut up.
Shut up, be the bigger person.
Oh, somebody gonna have to tap out, bow gracefully. Somebody is going to have to do something different in order to heal whatever was broken. And there's so many things that can come in and do that. But in communication, when we can both work on honoring each other, that's a huge beginning. Listen, and I've said this before, I don't do dishonor. Like, you can't do it in my friendships. You can't do it in my marriage. I'm too old. I ain't playing with nobody's kids. I don't do dishonor. I don't have any tolerance for dishonor. Why? because it doesn't matter your age. I am going to work diligently to be respectful, and that's what I expect in return.
Right.
But that comes from experience, because you have to teach people how to treat you.
Yes.
You know, I remember my old bishop used to say, if you speak to the fool, then the fool will speak back. If you speak to the champion, then the champion will speak back. And so many times we find ourselves talking to the fool, but wanting a hero, but wanting a champion, you know. And so it's important what we say, and it's important what we do, because, okay, so listen, first of all, communication as women, our mouths are deadly.
They can be.
Our mouths do so much damage that most men do not recover at the rate that we recover.
Yes, that's correct.
And so we'll find ourselves working diligently to build our house, because a wise woman buildeth her house, but a foolish one plucketh it down with her hands. Let's say her mouth. Now we're going to pray. We're going to fast. We're going to call in the revival. We're going to do all this to get our men on the straight and narrow. And he going to do something wild and crazy. And everything that we built in prayer, in our conduct, in an instance, in a moment's notice, we'll tear it down with our words.
Yes.
Yeah. And then that becomes a vicious cycle. Yeah. And so, what do we do when we see ourselves?
I'll take a time out. I need to go be alone.
So silence.
Yes.
Silence.
To be in silence.
Yeah. It's crazy because sometimes in those moments, it's a reflection of our brokenness. It's a reflection of those places, because meekness is a quiet strength. And so I really believe that in our conversation, the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so I don't think that it's always necessarily what's directed at them, but what's in our heart, period. Because I can say something to you that I don't believe is absolutely true about you. But what am I hoarding in my heart that I would dare say something to my brother or my sister, my husband, my spouse, my friend, to tear them down? You understand what I'm saying? What residue? What's underlying there? Why would that proceed out of my mouth? Why would I be okay with doing that type of damage?
I don't know. That's why we're talking about it. What?
And so I think that that's huge. I think discovering what's in our own heart and addressing it. And so 911, my house is on fire, house divided. Why? So we just talked about communication and the barriers in communication. And, you know, it's really interesting being in a relationship, because sometimes you're in a relationship and you got to be the therapist without being the therapist and without announcing. You know, you got to be a therapist and a psychic and a wife and you got a mind reader,
okay, that's one of the things I have to remind my husband of too frequently for my taste, is that I am not a mind reader. Like, contrary to popular beliefs, I cannot read your mind. If you don't communicate what you want, what you need, what you did not like or appreciate,
yes,
I don't know.
And not in part. And not in part. Not having the part of the conversation internally and having a portion of it with me. No, that wasn't a full conversation.
Not a conversation.
I missed some of it.
But my husband thinks that I should be a mind reader. I don't know if that's because that school of thought, but I'm like, no, sir, I cannot read your mind.
Yeah. Mine too.
I need you to tell me.
Please.
So, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A full conversation. Not in a few words, but let's have a full conversation.
Yes.
Let's address it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, we just talked about communication and some of the barriers to it. So, what would you say? Some of the barriers to communication, dishonor.
Mm-hmm. Ego.
Oh. Ow. It's crazy the ego that women still. Mm-hmm.
Ego gets in the way. Pride gets in the way.
Pride gets in the way. Yeah.
Yes.
Transparency.
Yes. But that's part of being able to be vulnerable.
Oh, that was it. That was next. Vulnerability.
Transparent and vulnerable.
Oh. But what about when I want intimacy? And we talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
I want intimacy without transparency. So now the other person is trying to communicate with me and I won't let them in. And I'm detached.
You need to see your therapist. Because you having some trust issues.
Yeah, but that's true.
And you need to deal with that. That's
true. But what if it's a harsh reality and I don't even recognize it? I don't even identify it.
If you don't trust your spouse for whatever reasons, you don't trust them with you, with your heart.
But what if I've never given my heart to anyone? Because as a child, I learned young that I couldn't trust anyone. That I had to protect that sensitive part of me. And so now it hinders my communication because it hinders how much of myself I'm willing to give. And so I'm chasing intimacy versus I'm not having it through conversation. I'm trying to chase intimacy through intercourse. Mm-hmm. And so now when that lapses and we can't now see, hold on. Now this is a whole nother breakdown. This is a whole nother breakdown in relationships. When we haven't learned how to communicate and the place where we bonded, the intercourse, now that fails. Oh, wait a minute.
You got a problem.
Now you got a problem. Because now we have relationships that 911, my house is on fire. Our house is divided. Why is the house divided? The house is divided because what bonded us and jailed us together, we're no longer interested in for whatever reason. If it's our bodies that are no longer interested in it, if the stresses of life have us no longer interested, whatever, if our emotional state has us no longer interested or unable to operate and perform in that manner. So what then happens in turn is now there's an attack. The woman feels like, remember I was saying that someone assumes the position? Now the woman is taking all the responsibility on herself, like, oh, well, maybe he's not attracted to me. And maybe he out there with Sheila and Shanae, whoever. Maybe it's someone else other than me. Maybe I'm fat. Maybe I'm, maybe it's just not good anymore. Maybe I don't perform like whatever. In turn, he's withdrawn because he's like, she wanted more than I can give it. I don't want her asking. My body's not cooperating. I'm going to go and hide. My body is turning on me and I don't know who to have the conversation with and I can't tell her. I'm so stressed out that I have no room for that in my life. And so now we have two people sleeping in separate bedrooms because of the breakdown in communication. One,
Mm-hmm.
because pride, brokenness, unresolved, insecurity, all those things have entered in and been a buffer, and we've just leaned into them. And it's so crazy because it's like a conversation, and I think I've said that in another episode, that it's a conversation that I have with women over and over and over again. I'm like, listen, we need to sit down in the summit so women, we can identify that no, it's not you all the time. It's not always someone else. So sometimes a house is so divided. We're sleeping in separate bedrooms because of something we could simply just talk about. Women,
Or
if your
do other
man,
things.
yes, or do over things, other things. But women, if your man is over a certain age,
So, put your hand on him.
or if your man is working like a Jamaican and a Hebrew, it might not be you.
It might not be you.
It might not be you.
Now, them not be deceived. Because I'm going to be real. I'm not going to give the dudes all the credit. Sometimes they do be doing stuff they ain't got no business. But not always. And so we should not assume
Okay.
that that is the case.
So I think Jen just went over to what? Infidelity?
Infidelity will cause your house to be divided. Yes.
All right.
You broke the covenant.
Yeah. A house divided.
And it might cause you some gunshots too, depending on who you got.
Ah. I'm not delivered. That video got to say, I've been delivered. Nope.
No.
That's why I don't even tote a pistol. Nope. I don't even have, I'm not, I can't, nope. Yep. And I'm a very generous person and I like to share most things, but that ain't,
Not that.
no, listen. I used to be the first one in the battle. Yep.
Yes.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yep. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-mm. Okay, let's talk
I
about
like
something healthy because that just struck a chord.
Okay.
That just struck-
Okay, we're not going. I don't condone violence,
And she don't
but I
condone
do
violence.
fight.
But she said she fight. I
Okay.
don't fight no more.
I
don't fight.
will.
I don't fight no more. That's my confession, and I'm sticking with it. I lay hands suddenly on no man. Anyway, so we talked about a lot today. We talked about communication.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about intimacy,
Mm-hmm. And infidelity
infidelity,
as being a major breakdown.
major breakdown.
Yes.
Okay, but what happens before it gets there? What happened?
Some people, I think it's because they're bored.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. All right. So are we saying that a house divided, the root of it is boredom?
I didn't say that's the root. I think the root is communication.
Okay.
Lack of communication.
Okay.
But I think boredom and pride
Ooh.
lead to infidelity. Unless you just a low down, dirty, you know what. But people open that door.
That's it.
If you open the door to then form this intimacy and you're having communication.
That's it. That door.
And you're bored, then this seems exciting.
All right. And so, why did they get bored?
Oh, well, I don't know. Okay.
Mm.
I think people get bored because there is the same routine. You know, we work. If you work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep. You're bored.
My house
You
is
get into such a routine that
wow, I want to learn how to, I want to
know,
say
so-
this. I want to say that. I mean, I really want to make that a staple because it's a fact. It's a reality. It's a harsh reality, right?
it can be.
That the monotony of life and it lacking its zeal, its variety, and so
You stop learning. You stop experiencing. You're just in the rut of
wow.
wake up, brush your teeth, do this, do that, blah blah, da 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 da, and you're not making the connection.
Mhm. I wonder, is there a moment in there where we can identify that, okay, we need to do something different?
I'm sure it is. There's probably multiple
Mhm.
pinpoints because I don't think it goes from A to Z.
Mhm.
I think there's multiple places where an intervention could have happened. Somebody could have do a timeout.
Yeah. I remember doing a therapy session recently, and I don't mean to be funny, but I'm that girl that goes to bed with her lashes on, her hair on.
So
I mean,
not surprised.
yeah, it's what it doesn't surprise you.
No.
That does not. But see, I'm also that girl that life is lifing and I don't want anything to touch me. But the other day I was ending a session and during the session, the gentleman said, I realized after talking to my ex, now that we're better friends than we ever were, that we just got comfortable, too comfortable. And then he said to me, don't get comfortable. I said, bam, bells and whistles, ding, ding, ding. Let's plan a trip. Let's plan a vacation.
Like, okay.
Let's go find your hair, girl.
All right.
Oh my goodness. Take that bonnet
I
off.
didn't have to tell you twice.
You're going to have to tell me twice. Mm-hmm. Well,
So funny. I don't know if we finished this topic. If this needs to be a part, a A and a B.
I think this might need to be discussed a little more.
Part B.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Conversations with Jen and Mel. Please join us every Monday at 8 p.m. for new episodes on Facebook, YouTube, Rick.tv, and the Rick TV app by way of Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Join us again next time on Conversations with Jen and Mel.